Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. This is kind of familiar, but not really, because this is sort of how it started. Maybe with less cows, actually. I'm not sure I had heard that time, but I mean we've started many years ago, and so today we are going to talk about long sentences. Hopefully, this will be a bit more interesting than stuff before, and sometimes it seems kind of chaotic how a language is, because I could talk about lots of stuff, like all sorts of things, and and then seemingly later on I realized that wow, I also should have talked about that one and that other thousand topics. But then I realized that okay, how about we just go back to the beginning, to how it started. And so now maybe you're able to make some sentences, just a couple of simple ones. And now you might be wondering how you could actually sort of connect them, because that's how I do this. Words like because and so and why and who and how. These are things to connect sentences with. And so this is what we are going to talk about today, among some other things. So first, let's collect all the words that we can connect equal sentences with. When we talk about equal sentences, it means that there is a sentence here, and we just connect it, the two. There is no direct connection between them. So I'm talking about a sentence. It would look like I go to the cinema and I go shopping. These two separate actions, and we connect them with an end. But there are other types of sentences which are much more connected to the core, because there is missing information in the first one. So for instance, I know, and there's a missing information, like what? What do you know? I know what John told me, for instance. That's something. So let's start with the easy things. Hello. Okay. So we were talking about connecting sentences. This is a really good place to put my whiteboard, because I can reach it. Barely, by the way. So I need to do some reconfiguration. There's a monitor here. I don't think you can see it, but anyways. So my point was before. We need at least five of these things. So one is and there is but, and so, because, and, which is the fifth. Let me see. And, but, so, because, and, or. I almost forgot that one. So, well, this is quite easy, because all I have to do is write the Hungarian equivalents. So this one would be és. It's quite alright. This is de. This one is, tehát, or there is another one, így, which is quite fun. And this one's mert, and finally vagy. So, quite alright. We've got here a thing. But here is my problem. In English, the the way you use commas is much more different than the Hungarian equivalent. So here, over there, you don't necessarily use anything. But in Hungarian, there is a fantastic rule that you have to use commas with all of these except this one. So these ones you need to use a comma before, and then és is the only exception. Isn't that marvelously fun? Right, so let's do some examples, like a couple of sentences, so you might get the hang of it, I guess, or something. So here we go. Let's do a couple of sentences. So we have a couple of heroes that are going to do some stuff. So let's see. Let's start with John. John is going to do some shopping. There you go. You might recognize some of the grammar, as in like elmegy. El is a prefix, megy is to go, and then vásárolni is connected with the ni, and vásárol is to shop for some stuff. So now, let's do another hero. Just to be a bit more international, Christiana. Christiana is going to watch some TV. There you go. You might recognize the T at the end. And of course with the TV I need to use a dash in order to just do stuff. Anyways, and néz is of course to look at stuff or to watch. Now Jack, let's do something with Jack. Now for some reason Jack doesn't like dogs. Just doesn't like them at all. Right. Now, in order to actually sort of like connect these seemingly unrelated events, we just have to use what we learned before. És, de, tehát, így, miért, or vagy. Or vagy. It's the same. Anyways. So, let's copy this sentence here. Let's put some és in there. And then let's put this here. So there we go. Now we have a seemingly long sentence, but of course, as you can see, these are just two sentences. So if we want to read them, it's quite easy and simple. So let's see. John elmegy vásárolni, és Jack nem szereti a kutyákat. Of course, when it comes to languages, it doesn't have to make sense. Making sense is your job, as like in this case I did not make any sense. Grammatically, this is fine. And of course I didn't use a comma, because és forbids it. So then, alright, let's do another one. For instance, let's do mert. So here we go. And that one, I need a comma. And here we go. This might even make sense, a bit at least. So, Christiana tévét néz, mert John elmegy vásárolni. So this is the whole sentence. So, Christiana, well, of course, we don't really know whether this is future or not, so I can either translate it to Christiana is going to watch TV because John is going to go shopping, or Christiana watches TV because John goes shopping. it's with Hungarian without any proper time indicators in a sentence, we'll never know. But for instance, if we want to alter the last example here, Jack nem szereti a kutyákat, we can actually do that, and it's quite fun. So let's do opposites. Jack nem szereti a kutyákat, de let's remove the nem. Let's make it this change it John, and there we go. So Jack nem szereti a kutyákat, de John szereti a kutyákat. Cool. This is kind of cool. Do you know what I forgot? Yes, it's the comma. And that is the life from now on. It's all about the commas. Of course, if you forget it, it's not a big deal, but you should not. So, of course, to make it a bit more Hungarian, we need to alter it, because sometimes we just don't want to repeat stuff. And what can you do in English? Well, you know, Jack doesn't like dogs, but John does. That's what we do. But in Hungarian, it's quite easy. You either put igen or nem. In this case, igen. But if we alter this sentence further, let me copy this and remove nem. And I just did the complete opposite. So Jack szereti a kutyákat, de John nem. So, there we go. Either you put igen in there or nem. And I think that concludes things, sentences that are equal. And now we venture on to something quite different, quite complicated. Things that are not equal. And stopping the recording. So, this is the next part. This is a bit harder, but not that much. So, in English, you would expect the special words that you use for questions to be presented in a sentence where you say, like, I know where Tom is. So Hungarian is a bit different, but more or less the same. So here we go. Like, I've wrote a typical sentence here. It starts with tudom, definite conjugation, of course, because I know something in particular. You need a connecting that sort of thing. So it most of the time it translates to that. So I know that, and then you get to use all these things. So where, who, what, another what in object mode, and then where and when. Now, of course, there are millions of these, and we are not going to discuss all of them. But this is the basic pattern. So first sentence, that's needed. And then, of course, this is mandatory, quite mandatory. You can't even leave it, because then you would sound kind of archaic, which you don't want, because you want to speak Hungarian properly. So, and then there we go, this is the other part. And of course, then you write a sentence. So the trick is that these will become the subjects, and then you need a verb, possibly, or some sort of other word, and then finish the sentence. Now, all we need is a couple of examples, of course, and that's what we are going to do. Some examples with more heroes doing heroic stuff, quite everyday stuff. Okay, so here are a couple of sentences, quite fun sentences, might I add. So basically the pattern is the same. Somebody did something, and of course now there is a missing information. There is some missing information. So now let's figure this out. This one is heard that, and that one's saw that, and then Jack will know that. In this case, I used the future. It's a rare occasion. And then of course Béla asked, and then István said, and then do you know that? So now this is an interesting idea, because when people try to speak English or learn English, this one, the reported speech that someone said something where you have to actually match the tense of the two sentences. So Béla asked if you could go there, or not can go there, or will go there. So this is quite easy when it comes to Hungarian. You don't have to match anything. So now we just need to figure stuff out. So what did Christiana hear? Well, oh, there we go. So that's interesting, because this one means what color. And much like in English, you need to learn it. So what color of something? The sky. That's an interesting sentence. What about the next one? John látta, hogy ki... So John látta, hogy kiül a fűben. So this is grass, and this is sit. So John saw who sits in the grass. Or actually who sat in the grass, or on the grass. It doesn't really matter, it's always Ben. So then, what about future? John will know. Indul, to leave. So John will know when we leave. And then, how about some reported speech? Béla kérdezte, hogy hol van Jack. So there we go. It's quite interesting, because you don't have to do anything. You ask a question, where is Jack, and you put it here. You don't even have to alter the order, which English speakers often don't even notice that they do it. You know, in English it would be like he asked where Jack is, or where Jack was, not where was Jack. So this is not a question. Even though in Hungarian you can use the question order. If we can talk about such things as the order of a question, the word order, because you know Hungarian doesn't really deal with the order of the words. Anyways, István mondta, hogy this one is without any who or how or why or anything. It's just he said that we are going to go home. And there we go. And then this is a question. This makes it into a question. So tudod, do you know? How about this one? So do you know, hogy milyen színű a fű? Do you know what color the grass is? And then here we go. Lots and lots and lots of words. And stopping. Alright. So I guess that's it. As in how easy it is to create some sentences that are complex. So what is the problem then? Is there a catch, you might ask? And well, no, not really. I mean, once you learn all the connecting words, and then you always put a comma in there in front of hogy and in front of everything except és, then you're ready to go. But the problem is still conjugating Hungarian words, because it's not easy, I know, and it's never going to be easy unless you learn it completely. So there we go. We covered a lot of ground today. It might not seem like that, but when it comes to, like, I can at least hope that I can compare it to English grammar. And English grammar, this whole reported speech thing is a nightmare. A complete and utter nightmare for Hungarians. Because we do it simply, well, in a simple way. Especially when it comes to questions. Like, think about two sentences, and in English, you're supposed to ask only one question, such as, do you know where I put my hat? But in Hungarian, it's the same order as if it was the question. So it seems like you're asking two questions, like, do you know? And where did I put my hat? But you always answer the first one, do you know? And of course, it's never as easy as saying yes. Like, who does that? Seriously. And then now we reached a point where we now talk about what we want to say instead of the grammar and how to say it. Because ultimately, you are the person who decides what you want to say. And I don't really have any idea what you're going to until you tell me. And this is quite a crucial point when it comes to learning any language whatsoever. Because a lot of people treat it as, and I'm sure that I might have mentioned, this before. That's good one, Chris. It means that I'm very sure of myself, that I might be right. Anyways, so I might have mentioned this before, that there is a difference between treating it as a grammatical exercise, which is close to mathematics, for instance, and treating it as an art. So you will tell me lots of crazy stuff. And so in English, when you reach the point where you can tell all sorts of stories and stuff, the way I'm talking right now, this is actually what I want to mean, what I want to convey and show to you. But you have to do the same in Hungarian. You have to be sort of sequential when it comes to expressing yourself. So first you say a sentence, then you have to explain it. Much like you would never ever say yes to something like, hey, have you seen my hat? And yes, I have. Then people would go like, where the hell is it now? Why aren't you telling me? What's the problem? And then, of course, naturally you would go like, hey, have you seen my hat? And then, yeah, it's in the corner. There you go. So you have to do the same in Hungarian. And that's why today we learned all sorts of crazy stuff. So you can connect your sentences. But still, you might be at the point in your life where you can't make sentences. And the only way to go through with that, or to actually master making of sentences, is to make them. That's what I always tell my students. And that's what I'm sure that they don't like, the best. I mean, consciously, they don't want to kill me, but you know how complicated it is. Just take the simplest thing ever. Someone asks you like, hey, do you like dogs? And I said, well, yes, I like dogs, and I've always liked them, but I've never had a dog when I was a child. So then there you go, you started a story, and you have to do the same in Hungarian. So that's why a lot of people resort to first talking in English in their heads and then in Hungarian. And to some extent, you have to do that. You just simply have to compare your English essay with your Hungarian essay. And as long as they are different in length, like way different in length, so in Hungarian you put 3 sentences, and in English you would tell me your life story about dogs, then yes, you still have to add more and more sentences in your Hungarian to your Hungarian story. So yeah, it's like I stated in the beginning, I'm not really sure, like never really sure where to go. Even when it comes to lessons, of course we go by some sort of exercise book, and there are things that you have to learn, but most of the time it's just a struggle of making sentences, because I don't know you. You know yourself, you know what you like, what you do, so even if you try to study alone, just do it, make sentences. And now would be the time to say that even if they are wrong, but I will not say that, because I only believe in correct sentences. So get someone to correct your sentences. It's imperative that you do that, whether through, I don't know, buying lessons from someone, including me, or get a friend or relative to read through your things, even if they don't explain it to you, although that would be the perfect way. But even if they don't, it will be fine. You get to the bottom of it. So yeah, I guess that's mostly it for today, and I hope that you still somehow enjoy these lessons, and I will try to go into some sort of direction that makes sense. You're always welcome to ask questions, as a lot of you have done. Finally! Jesus, what have you been waiting for? So just, add me in Skype or on Facebook or whatever and just say hello. But, because adding me, that's half of the job done. Saying hello is the next one. I always try to say hello to people, but sometimes I just mix stuff up. Anyways, so, right. I guess that's it, and go on with your life. Farewell, have fun, until the next lesson.